is now my honor and privilege to introduce to everyone Mr. Jonathan Catherman.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Mr. Pacera. Very good job, sir. Very good job. Well, good morning. We have people standing in the back. We did that well. Did y'all register? Just making sure, because if you haven't, okay, good. They got the thumbs up on the registration, which means we need seats. And so if you have seats next to you and you can consolidate, would you do so? And then will you hold up by the number of fingers how many seats you have available? I have 3, I got 3, I got 2, I got 2, can I get 4? I got a 4, I got a 4, I got a 4, I got a 5, I got a 5, I got a 5, I got a 5, I got a 5. We have 2s and 3s kind of scattered around the room. Thank you very much for consolidating and letting everybody in. While they're finding their seats, it is my privilege to kind of give you an update on what's going on with Leader in Me. So I think everybody's making their way. Keep your fingers up if you got, we have 5 up front here. We got a whole row of 10 here if you're looking. All right, I think we've got it. Okay, so hands down, because this is going to get real confusing here in a second. The Leader in Me update. Let's kind of give you kind of the State of the Union effect of what's going on with Leader in Me. But in order to do that, help me seek first to understand, then to be understood. By show of hands, how many of you are here already engaged in the Leader in Me process? Will you please raise your hands? Excellent. Look around, look around. Okay, so if you are sitting next to somebody without their hand up, there's the right person to ask some questions to. For show of hands, how many of you have just kind of testing us out, see if this might work or not, trying it out? Raise your hands if you're here, checking things out. Okay, by voice, should they step forward? Yes. Oh wow, that was by volume of voice, for those who are already engaged, should they step forward in the Leader in Me process? There we go. This guy here at the post, he's like, "Rah!" Well, let me give you a formal kind of walkthrough about where we've been over the last few years and where we are now and where we're headed in the years to come. So I'm not sure if you all are aware of this, but this is the 25th anniversary of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book published by Dr. Stephen Covey. Pretty amazing. Now, if you are not aware, Dr. Covey is no longer with us. And this new version of the book is just a wonderful way to honor the legacy that he had laid down and cast forward for the emerging generation of leaders today and those who are yet to come. How many have read this book in past? Excellent. I highly recommend all those who do not have your hands up to go ahead and get a copy of the new version. The endorsement has come for 25 years from around the world. We're quite pleased to offer this release. It's kind of a good way to kind of start the Signature Training 4.0, which if anybody who's been through the 7 Habits process also knows that we give you a signature training, the best quality service for personal and professional development in the world, is getting a facelift, and it is going to be a little more modern. So some of the examples you see where it shows a video cassette, VHS style, probably not going to be the case anymore. Got a new talking stick, some great resources, just to freshen up for the next 25 years to come. We're very excited. So if you are launching into the Leader in Me process, you will go through the 7 Habits signature training, and I'm hoping that these will be the resources you see, kind of dependent on when you begin your process. Speaking of processes, let's bring it back into the context of how the 7 Habits became the Leader in Me and how we brought the 7 Habits into this discovery and development and leadership potential of students around the world. Back in 1999, Dr. Muriel Summers, and you're going to meet her tomorrow, she will be here. Dr. Summers was faced with a rather daunting challenge, and I'm sure she'll tell you more of her story tomorrow, so I won't steal her thunder. But in the face of that challenge of what she was going to do related to the future of her school, she sat in an audience much like you did today, and she heard Dr. Covey speak and kept rolling through her mind, would this work, not just for adults, but what about for children? So she actually asked him, Dr. Covey, could I implement this in children? And I believe his response was, well, how young are the children? And Muriel said, as young as 5. Now, I love Dr. Covey's response because I've given a similar response myself. His response was, I don't see why not. This is the part that was similar. Give it a go, let me know. Go try it out and see what happens and report back to me. Now, truth of the matter is, for all the times I've said, give that a try and let me know how it goes, most of the time you don't hear back. That doesn't mean it didn't work, it just means this is life, right? Y'all get busy, our paths don't cross, or back then I don't think email was even one of those real fast options, right? So here we are, give it a go, let me know. Muriel came back to Dr. Covey and said, you've got to see what's happening. It has transformed our school. And in doing so, looking him straight in the eye, I said, you have a moral imperative to bring this to children and educators as far as your reach will take. Hence 2008, the launch of the Leader in Me formal book Dr. Covey released. And how many of you have read Leader in Me? Excellent. As you know, and those of you who haven't, I highly recommend you get your hands on it. It is a wonderful footprint looking back, as well as option for seeing where we can go forward from here. Footprints guiding the process of what does it mean to discover and develop the leadership potential in schools around children. Now, this is what happened between 2008 and the release of the Leader in Me book in 2013. We are up to about 1,600 schools, which I don't know about you, like, 1,600. Let me just put it this way. It's hard to keep up with y'all. As one of the senior lead consultants for Franklin Covey, my summer calendar is like crazy because you're all, we need more, we need more, we need more. Okay, I appreciate you very much, but I'm really tired of waking up in hotel rooms like this. Where am I? Oh yeah, I'm in Dallas. Okay, this is good. Oh, where am I? I'm in San Antonio. Oh, where am I? I have no idea. Look at my schedule. The demand is so great, we're up to 1,600 schools, and we love it. Thank you very much. But we're not even close to being done. This is what 1,600 schools looks like in the United States. It's a fraction of what we call market share, how many potential schools we could be in. It's not just stuck here in the States, it's gone north of the border into Canada too. And our Canadian counterparts are constantly saying, Canada, 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 let everybody know something's happening, Canada too. We're pretty far from Canada. Well, I'll tell you, they're very excited, not just what's happening in their nation, but what's happening in our nation. And not just here in North America, how about let's go global? The Leader in Me is going to go, and when I mean go global, we're talking about countries who are saying, we're going to pilot this in a couple dozen schools. And if all goes well, we're going to take this national. You ever tell your kids that they are no longer living in a local or regional or even a national economy, that they need to begin to think globally? Well, there are children around the world who are thinking globally in the context of they're becoming a leader, and their plan is not just to lead here. They have visions for a grand future that goes as far as their eye can see. It's called vision. They have a clear mental picture of a preferred future, and that future includes leadership. So our projections, 2012, you see down at the today red mark, but look where we're hoping to go by 2025. Y'all know the phrase early adapters? Welcome to the team. You're the early, you're the first, you're the ones that say, yeah, we've been doing that for years already. The trend is only projected to a place where I have a feeling that we're going to have a whole lot of consultants like myself who are waking up in hotel rooms wondering, where am I? But we do it out of the passion because we believe in what you're doing working with these students. Raise your hand if you believe the generation we work with today has more potential to do good in this world than any generation before. Raise your hand high. I couldn't agree with you more. So much so that that's a pretty lofty projection, but we're going there. Now, the world, it sounds like I should do it like this. The world. The world is a big goal, but let's bring this back down to reality. Let's make it very personal because that's the truth of the process. It has to start with one before it can move to the next, and to the next, and to the next. If you're part of our Leader in Me process, you know we constantly say, bring it back. It has to start with you, the model of you, and then it will spread out from there. So let me bring it back down to the power of the one, and let me introduce you to a pretty phenomenal young lady named Olivia. you reach under your chairs, you all find Kleenex. Olivia's story is just the beginning, because I believe that each one of you, in watching her story, can think of a student who's been in your class, who is in your class, or who will one day walk through your door, and you'll think, how do I meet this child where they are? Olivia had to have an opportunity, and the opportunity came in the way of the belief that every student can lead. If you don't believe that, by the way, please pursue a different calling in life. If you question that statement that I'm making, I encourage you tonight to go back to your hotel or go home and grab just that little notepad by your nightstand there, rip it off, and write a personal note to the student you don't believe is going to succeed. Say, I just don't see it in you. Now, none of you are going to do that, because the reason you sit here today is you believe that Olivia's story is others' story, and from other stories we can progress and find and develop students around the world. Now, as you see on the screen before you, schools that are stewarding this process extremely well have reached a new milestone, and that milestone is what we call lighthouse status. Now, lighthouse status, you look up on the screen, 2010, and A.B. Combs was the first school to reach this lighthouse status. Anybody who starts to Leader Me begins with a vision day, and part of that vision is they believe that one day somebody will come knocking on the door and say, what are you doing different? And through that process, hence, they become that beacon of hope, that lighthouse for others to see. Through that process, we will guide them along the way, and school after school has their vision, their sight set on becoming a lighthouse school to make that milestone. 2013 brought about a whole new set of lighthouse schools, and we have more scheduled for 2014. We're getting very excited about that. In fact, in this room today, we have 4 schools who are right here in Texas. Wilderness, in fact, if you're on the screen, will you please stand up? Wilderness Oak Elementary, Oak Meadows, Hardy Oak, Stone Oak. Everybody has to be an Oak apparently here. Stand up. We need to give you a round of applause for your lighthouse status. And you will give them, I'm sure, the ovation that they deserve for all the hard work. Well, more hard work has been put in behind the scenes. Coming soon, Leader Me 2.0, updated version for the book. So some of the examples that we had have been updated, some have been replaced. We've added whole new versions. In fact, we've even tiptoed into secondary. So if you're here representing, say, grade 6 or above, would you please raise your hand? Oh, wow, there was some pride in that hand. Just shoot that one up there. There we go. We are excited you're here, and we are beginning to tool that process for you also. Because the worst thing that could happen, worst thing that I could see happening in all of everything we've committed to, is once they roll out our door in elementary and go out into those tween-teen years, we wave goodbye and say, best of luck. Because how does that work for you? Not well. So we are meeting you where your need is and beginning to move a process forward in that as well. We encourage you to pick up the new version of Leader Me. A lot is coming up in the year to come. A lot has happened in the years past, and we are proud and pleased to present to you Leader Me process, and we're very glad that you're here today. So, are you ready for a bit more? Yeah. I had an interesting conversation last night with some folks from Advantage Academy from Dallas, Texas. Where is Advantage Academy? They've got to be here somewhere. There they are in the back. So they got to come spread around. If you're from Advantage, would you please raise your hand at us? Yeah, I got to the hotel the same time you did last night. And I'm not sure if you saw me. I was just sitting there, and y'all were kind of figuring out who's paying for stuff at the front desk, and somebody had to come back down with a card. And you know, you got this Leader Me theme going on, and you just kind of got this thing going, and I know who you are. I don't know you're from Advantage Academy. I just know you're teachers. Okay, so knowing your teachers, I get into the elevator with 3 of your colleagues, and I ask them a question. I say, you guys seem kind of amped up. What's going on? They go, oh, we're here for a conference. I go, oh, really? What kind of conference are you here for? They go, oh, we're educators. So good. Well, what kind of education conference are you coming to? I already know the answer. I love asking questions I already know the answer to. So I've got what you just saw in my head. Leader, me, celebration, the kind of where we are, where we're going to go from here. That's all sitting right here. And I'm hiding my ID badge. So tell me, well, what are you hoping to get out of the conference? Or I said, well, it's an education conference. Which one? She said, oh, it's Leader, me. I go, I heard of that. And one of the teachers looked at me like, yeah, you did, sure. You're just saying that. So as I get out of the elevator, I say, so what are you hoping as your big takeaway from this conference? What's the one thing you'd like to walk away with? And I'm sure a similar answer rests in many of your thoughts right now. And that was, we'd like to know how to do this leadership, to teach our students to be leaders. I'm like, we can do that. I wanted to say, gotcha, no problem. See you in the morning. So I just real quick, I think I need to bring somebody up front here to kind of help set the scene for how do we get our students from where they are to discovering and developing the leadership potential in each and every one of them. And to do that, I think that Advantage Academy, which by the way is out of Dallas, a K to 12 school, they are one school, 3 campuses. Talk about vision for spreading leadership. I think their superintendent should come join me up front right here. By the way, her name is Angie McDonald. Angie, where are you? Oh, I said superintendent. She popped right up. She's on her way. Everybody give a round of applause for Miss Angie. Because Miss Angie, join me right up front here. We got to stay where the lights are so everyone can see. And I'll have you come over here. But Angie, I want you to help work with me on how we can show everybody that the process we're building here is literally a layering process to helping students discover leadership. Okay? So if you want your students to become leaders, then we have to recognize simply this. It just doesn't come automatically. Are we okay with that? Okay, so let's set this by doing a real simple activity. Step over just a little bit, and will you please join me, and everybody, you can do this too. Hold out your right hand. Yeah, hold out that right hand, look at it, and say, communication. Communication. Good. Now hold out your left hand and look at it and say, traditions. Tradition. Very good. Right hand is? Communication. Left hand is? Tradition. Right hand? Communication. Left hand. Tradition. Do you know what you hold between your right hand and left hand? Do you know what you hold between your right hand and left hand? Culture. Think about this. Every culture has to have like forms of communication. Meaning, it's not just language, but meaning, right? If we can communicate the same way, then we can build a culture, and what do we have to do though? You have to transfer it, you have to pass it forward through traditions to the next. Because this just doesn't come, we don't do this, do we? It's like, hey, born and everything you've got to survive, the two are right here. Welcome to the family, you're good to go. Right hand is? Communication. Left hand is? Tradition. Okay, to that point, let's do a little communicating. You tell me the tradition, and let's look at how many layers of leadership to build this culture it's going to take to get this right. Let's start with something super simple. We didn't do this when you walked up. Purposefully, this will be our first engagement. This is a test. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Angie.
Nice to meet you, Angie.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. How'd she do? Okay, now what did she do? Right hand was? Okay, so what did she communicate to me? Name and? Greeting. A casual, how are you? Nice to meet you. What else? A smile. Front row saw the smile. Tone of voice. A lot came out in that form of communication. Step forward. Now think about how this could go over a couple different ways. Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Angie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What am I communicating to her here? You ever met the person who does a handover? You know, they come in and they're like, that's the worst. What are you communicating there? Hi. Two dead fish, you know. I guess dead fish wouldn't do this. Dead fish should do that. But okay, what about this one? Hi. When they do that, what are you communicating there? I am superior to you. You know how to counter that one, by the way? Go ahead and do it to me. There you go. Just go, hi, nice to meet you. What is this? I feel so bad for you. Nice to meet you too. When you go to a funeral and you truly have empathy for somebody, they're mourning the loss of a family member, and you go, it's so good to see you. So this is I feel for you, or it's I patronize you. Yeah. You wouldn't do that at a funeral. Oh, you did another one. Very good. Hi, nice to meet you. What is this one? Watch politicians. Nice to meet you. This is control. What does the other politician do? Nice to meet you. It's a whole. This is communication, isn't it? You're communicating, and there are part of our culture is communicating like this, isn't it? Now, do kids get that automatically? This is super simple. We're going to start small. Super simple, right? They don't get this automatically, do they? We have to be able to teach this to them. It's called traditions, the things we pass on. Now, to give you an emphasis of how powerful this can be, let's do a start over, okay? We have not met each other. Okay, here we go. Konnichiwa, anata wa genki desu ka? How'd she do? She's like, she did so good, I'm proud of her. I was nervous for a second there. Yeah, well, now what do we communicate?
Respect.
Respect and honor, and when you respect and honor somebody in, say, the Japanese culture, konnichiwa, anata wa genki desu ka? What do? I bow, and I bow where? Low, because I have great respect for you as a superintendent. She keeps going lower. I'm going to go lower. I show respect. That wasn't not a bad camera angle, was it? Okay, good. Do we automatically know that? No. Do we have to pass that on? Is this cultural? Last one. We'll start over. We'll kind of do a retake of the first greeting, though, so go get back to a little bit familiar. We'll see how this one works. Hi, I'm Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Angie. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Angie. There. Oh, but did you see her face? What did she communicate with her face? She went, I'm a third grader. Okay, so we did the traditional Western greeting to start with. Then we did, say, a Japanese greeting. What greeting was this? What am I communicating, by the way? Silly, or slight, or neener. Unless you're in Tibet. And in Tibet, if you don't show somebody your tongue, we've got problems. I'm not sure I can trust you. Because in a culture where not all, but many believe in reincarnation, and you're wondering who you're going to run into when you have a first meet and greet, I know I did not just meet the reincarnation of the king that oppressed the people so badly that they despised him, he had a black tongue. Do you have to understand this? Mm-hmm. Or we have to follow it? Do you have to value it the same way? Not necessarily, but boy, I can trust you. Thank you very much for everything you did. Give her a round of applause. You've got to create a culture of leadership. It is under a culture of leadership whereby communicating verbally and non-verbally and passing on from one generation to the next, or how about from one class to the next, we can build the kind of leaders that are going to be required of us, not just today, but for tomorrow. Riddle me this. 25 years from now, when the children who sit in our classrooms that we are here representing today are of age and begin to fulfill the roles we are responsible for today. Have you thought that far in advance? Some of you are going, 25 years ago, I started teaching. Others of you 25 years ago weren't born yet. But we'll go with 25 years because that's about the duration of what we call a generation. Now, 25 years forward from now, when these young people come of age and they are beginning to fulfill our responsibilities, they must take responsibility for their family. They must take responsibility for economy, politics, faith, community, everything that's both in the home and out. Are they going to require less stewardship than we require today, an equal amount of stewardship that we're using today, or greater stewardship of leadership than is required of us today? Less than, equal to, or greater than. It's going to require greater amounts of stewardship, of leadership, than we are using today. So how do we get them there? And the answer is one layer of building a culture of leadership at a time. So how do we get there? Well, hence, let me introduce you to the layers to leadership. Now, if you want to turn to the back of your workbook and want to take some notes, there happens to be a blank page back there. You can draw out this pyramid. And in that pyramid, would you please place 3 segments? So 2 lines creating 3 segments. Anywhere on the note page, what page is that? There's also a really great note page on page 130 if you'd like to flip there. Okay, so simple pyramid divided into 3 segments. Now, they're not equal size. They're equal spacing, but not equal size, and that's important to understand, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so the first layer to leadership is really very simple. Everyone in the world falls into this category. It's called membership. You enter on the bottom right. If you do all things well, you'll exit on the bottom left. In order to do this, you essentially, all you have to do is live by default. It's program-based. You pay your dues. It's very, very simple. Most people, in fact, of the 7.1 plus billion in the world, get out of bed each day and do this thing called life simply by default to go and adhere to the program and to simply pay their dues. I think that's tragic, but it is also just reality. Now, if you want to break this down, how membership functions, let's get into our brains a little bit. Anybody else here into brain stuff? Okay, she's like, oh yeah, I got the best person right here in front. She's a body language reader, she's a brain science, I love this. Okay, so let's get into the brain a little bit. Let's talk about the 3 areas that we just naturally fit into. They're called places. Place number 1, place number 2, and place number 3. Now place 1, 2, and 3, everybody in the world falls into these in the category of membership. Place number 1 is really super simple. It's home. Everybody should have some place they call home. Now, it doesn't mean that it's luxurious. And so you say, well, some of our kids don't have home to call. How many of you have had stories of children who have lived or spent the night in a car? Okay, that's quote unquote still home. We have 3 places. The first one that should be the safest place in the world is home, especially if it's aligned with family. We have many kids who do not live with mom and dad, yet who are still part of a family. And if they're not, what do they crave? Family. Our brain is geared to be part of family. Second place we're geared to be part of, especially here as adults, is work. Okay, but we're not here to learn more about us, we're here to learn more about our kids. So children, interestingly enough, their brain's geared for home with family and or school. They like to come to school. Remember when if you've had kids, remember when they were on their literally first day of school. Now for some, it's freaky. For others, like my sons, who I have 2 of, they're like, got this, Dad. I watched my youngest son, Cole, who's, though he's younger, is now our biggest child. But even then, he was a big kid, but he just put on his backpack and he marched off into that school because he was ready. He was prepared. He was excited. He was going to school. Now, that can be a make or break based on place 3. Place 3, for adults, really simple. It's just something you like. Okay, now, that could fit into a lot of things. It could fit into, I don't know, do you like to play tennis? Well, you could be part of a tennis club, right? That would be, where are you going today? I'm going to play tennis with my tennis partners. I like to play tennis. Do you like to camp? Maybe you've got the same group of people you camp with regularly. We like to go camping, so we get together with these same group of people, we go camping. Or maybe you're like me and you really like Starbucks. Starbucks has built an entire brand based on what they call third place. Not like, congratulations, you're bronze. It's, our brain is geared to go to home, work, and hang out at Starbucks. Who here, like me, has an ethical addiction called Starbucks? Good, this is a grande quad shot Americano with vanilla, room for cream, light. Now, I've been to Starbucks countless amounts of times. You know what I see happen at Starbucks? I don't just see people get coffee, because there's some of you are thinking, he just said like a $4 cup of coffee. We have things here called Circle K. I just stop in at the Texaco and I get my coffee and I'm on my way. Okay? It's a pot, it's black, it gets me going in the morning. Yeah, but that's not why I go to Starbucks exclusively. Have you ever been into Starbucks and see people sitting there talking, reading, performing business transactions? I've seen people sign contracts for the purchase of a house at Starbucks. I've seen marriage counseling occurring at Starbucks. This goes into that category of the do's, all the things you like. Here, this is actually, I got into my wallet. Here are all the things that I like. I have cards for them. This is the airline I like to fly on. This is my frequent flyer card. Here's the car company I like to rent from. This is my frequent renter card. The hotels I like to stay at, this is it, hotel. Oh yeah, here's where we're members of a club, but my wife goes. I showed up once, I go, who are you? I said, I'm a member here. They go, no, you may be a member, but you don't belong, so. There's our club membership. This is if I pay my dues, if I fly enough, stay enough, rent enough, if I pay this bill, we can go back as often as we like, because you know what, you like it. How many of you like going here? Costco. You like it on your way, you hate it on the way back, right? I will only spend $125. You roll in the house and somebody's like, how'd you get all that for 125 bucks? You pay your dues, you're good to go. And this one right here, as tattered as it is, what is this? It's my Starbucks card. You pay your dues, you're a member, I like it, I stay loyal to it, I'm good to go. My brain, I'm well engaged in 3 places. Most all of you are. Kids, back to kids. Where's their membership in 3rd place? It's the classroom. It is the classroom. So go back to when you hear a student say they love school, they probably love their class. If they don't like their class, what do they hate? School. You get the idea. We got to think all 3 spaces. What's the right hand? What's the left hand? Tradition. We got to find, when we're talking about welcome to the team, welcome to membership, everybody in here is a member, we got to communicate the same value that if you want them to love the whole spectrum, you got to bring it back down to the very personal part all the way down into the classroom. That's how membership works. But that's not the only layer. Okay? In place 1, home, we have about 117 billion households in the United States. That's a lot. In place 2, talking about that school, we have about 32,000 schools in the U.S. And if you bring it down to the classroom specifically, well, if you have an average school of about 550 students with about 20 kids per class, that means you have 27 spaces that are extremely important. You want to get kids to learn to be leaders, focus here first. Some of you thinking, I'd love to have that class size. Average. Let's bring it up a layer though. Some people don't choose to stay down in membership and just do what's average. They choose to take this a step further. They go, instead of horizontal, they go vertical into what we call stewardship. Stewardship, I love stewardship. It's my passion. It's design, it's process, it takes practice. Back to the same 3 categories. We got place 1, home and family, place 2, work and school, place 3, what you like, and hopefully the classroom. Let's give some specific examples of stewardship in each. My wife is strict on this. She goes, Jonathan, you cannot tell stories about other people unless you're willing to tell a story about yourself, and especially if it's negative. So let's start with me, how I was a poor steward of family. McAllen, Texas. I'm driving along about 75 miles an hour, going south on the freeway, change lanes. Apparently the guy behind me and to my right, who I didn't see because when I looked in my rearview mirror, he was way back there. When I changed lanes, he was right here, meaning he was going a whole lot faster than 75. We collided on the freeway. Every airbag in my car inflated, crashing, glass breaking. I have one thought in my mind at that time. As my bag smashing me in the head, and I'm away on a Franklin Covey 7 Habits Leader Me training day, just left the school. The one thought that's going through my mind at that time, who will raise my sons? That's only, I don't know why my brain went there, not to my wife. Actually, she's smoking hot. She's getting picked up real fast. So, but who will raise my sons was a thought that went through my head. And when everything came to a stop and the glass settled down and I realized I'm all in one piece, and on the side of the freeway, I made a commitment to myself as cars continued to zing by and I waited for police and tow trucks to come. I said, I will do something to raise my boys purposefully, with or without me. Because I have no idea what tomorrow holds, do you? So we started a tradition in our house called Man Missions. Our last name is Catherine Mann. So we man everything up. And now I'm not talking about belly scratching, that kind of man stuff. I mean, I'll go home and my wife will look at me and says, it's time for you all to go on a man mission. Meaning get the kids out of the house, mama needs some mama time. All right, guys, get in the car, we're going on a man mission. Or my buddies will say, hey, Dad, Saturday, let's go on man missions. All right, let's go on man mission. You know what a man mission is? Running errands. Who needs to teach these boys how to pump gas, buy groceries, the things that we call life? To that point, I hadn't done that purposefully yet. I had to pick that up. I also then wrote them a book called The Manual to Manhood. Available in stores March 15th. No, the book is for the boys. If anything were ever to happen to me, they need to know my dad left me prepared. What about work and school? Build daily, When it comes to school, there's a principal in Nookville, Virginia, I'm so impressed by. Dr. Bishop. The school board came to him and said, you know what, we want you to steward the building of a brand new school. And he said, have you broken ground yet? They said, no. He said, have you designed the school yet? They said, no. He said, great, I want a hand in the design of the school. I want to be there for the day they break ground. I want to interview every teacher. And I want the students who are going to have a choice to come to this school from 3 other schools to apply to come here, even though it's a public school. Of course they'll get in, but I want to hear their responses. Because we're going to build this school on the strengths of leadership. That's the whole theme of their school, is leadership from the ground up. You can't get lost in this building. You can't hide in this building. They don't allow cell phones in this building, so he positioned the clocks at a 90 degree to the wall. So nobody can argue as to what time it was because they couldn't see it. And there's like a clock every 30 feet. They play music between classes so you know transitioning from one class to the next in this huge campus that when the music stops playing, you got about a minute to make it to class. They have a faculty advisory board, a student advisory board. The whole school is built literally from the foundation up. From the brick and mortar to the heart of the interview of the faculty, we will steward leadership, designed, processed, and practiced. In a classroom, I was with a 5th grade class, and I saw something completely unique. I walk in this class, I'm like, how is it that these students, I see everything, you've got these big tallies on the wall, and it appears you have an economy going on in this class. He says, absolutely, I need these young men and women who are in the 5th grade to understand that this is not a free ride. How many have 5th graders who think that basically they need to have the newest, best cell phone over their parents even? He said, this is no free ride. First week of school, they got to sit anywhere they want, do anything they wanted, and he kept grades just like everybody else does. But then as they transitioned into their next block, he said, look, I want to show you, these are your grades, and I have assigned a financial value to each one of these grades, attendance, behavior, all the things you measure in class now. I have assigned financial value. So this is the money you have earned unknowingly and put in the bank. Now this money you may now use to rent your desks. Because they had the popular section of the room, so guess what? That becomes the high rent section of the room. If you come to class unprepared and need a pencil, you can buy one from me. If you come to class unprepared because your pencil's not sharp, you can pay to rent it. It's much like we do with everything from our electricity. You really rent your electricity, don't you? You don't buy it. Like, hey, you should see my garage. It's packed full of electricity. All the utilities and the needs that they had in the class, He rented to them, and then he turned the tables on them after a little while. He said, and you can buy your way out of homework and all kinds of stuff. Then he set it up where you can purchase the desk next to you and rent it to the person you're sitting next to. You can purchase the pencil sharpener and rent services to your classmates. He set up his whole class in an economy. This is not his responsibility. He didn't have to do this. He was just tired of seeing kids with the entitled mentality. Is that stewardship? You don't have to do this. Fifth grade teachers, you don't have to do this. He did it by design, by process, and it's going to take practice. Because practice makes what? Does it? Hey, perfect practice makes perfect. If you're practicing perfect, you don't got to practice. By practice doesn't make permanent either. I can prove this. Who took piano lessons till they were a teenager? Great. Sir, hey, can we roll that piano in here now, please? I'm going to need you to do the recital, the last recital you did when you were like 12 years old, you know. I just want you, his face. He's got chopsticks. He says, nee, 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 nee. If it was permanent, then you should be able to pick up that last music lesson you took when you were 12 and play it today like you played it when you were 12. Practice does not make perfect. It doesn't make permanent. It makes better. Practice makes better. Stewardship is a process. We mature through process. We steward through process. You have to have a design in this. Is this part of culture? Those who do things by design, by purpose, and practice over and over and over again? It makes a difference, doesn't it? Think about leaders. You aren't just born a leader. You have to follow some design, walk through a process, and it's going to take a lot of practice. This is stewardship. One more layer before I complete. This is a layer of leadership. Leadership, by the way, is a choice, not a position. Just because we appoint a leader does not make them the right appointment. They have to choose. Back to our three models: home, family, work, school, life, class. Speak it so. You know you're a leader when somebody comes to you and says, "What are you doing different? Will you show me? I believe it can be done in my own experience too." My boys were very little. We're in a candy store. Happened to be a candy store owned by my son's teacher. He throws a temper tantrum, falls on the floor, becomes a puddle of water. You know that position children make when you go to pick them up and they're like, you know. You physically cannot raise them off the ground. And I say to him, I said, "Reed, stop, you're embarrassing yourself." Translated, you're embarrassing me. If you don't stop crying now, we're going home. That was amazing because that was the key. Right? Oh, yes, Father. No, it just compounded the problem. If you don't stop crying now, we're going home and you're in a timeout. I'm heading for the door and I hear this voice coming from his teacher behind the counter running the candy store. "Oh, no, you don't." I turn around and my wife is standing next to her. My wife's head's all bobbing around like this, her hips out like that, you know. The position no man can take to look cool, you know. And they say, "Bring him back over here." I'm looking at Ginny. We call her Ginny Doodlebug because a doodlebug is a burrowing beetle that shakes the earth. She rocked our world. "Bring him back over here and put him right back down where you picked him up from." I do. She looks at him and she gets right down on his level. I told him get up. She got down. She looked at him and said, "Hi, Reed. How do we speak in my class? What have I taught you? What do we say every day?" And through his tears and whining, he says, "I'm strong, I am brave, I'm of great courage." I go, "You don't know my boy very well." Over the next about 30 seconds, she goes through a process of whining to this child marching around the store, pumping his fist, saying, "I am strong, I am brave, and I am of great courage." And I'm looking at her saying, "Who are you?" It's like the child whisperer or something. You know, tss, tss, tss. "How did you do that?" And she said to me, "Jonathan, you did not give him any other option. You said you are embarrassing, we're going home, you're being punished. I told him you are strong, brave, and of great courage. You've got to speak it so. You have some children in your home and family that don't see themselves. You got to speak it so. Take it home and speak it so. You are strong, brave, and of great courage." I tell my boys that every single day. text, voicemail, in person. Same applies at school. Give more than you take away. Speak it so, speak it so. Principal Brenda Longshore in Florida chose to forego lighthouse status for her school to bring lighthouse status to her community. When the Ford Motor Company showed up at her door and said, "What are you doing different here?" And she said, "We are building leaders one child at a time." They said, "Could you do this across the community?" Because the community is asking, "Could you do it across the community? We'll help fund it." Give more than you take away. She is no longer the principal in this school. They do not have lighthouse status. She passed those reins on to somebody else who is rising in the ranks. She said, "You're prepared. You can do this. I know you can take the school to Lighthouse." And she stepped out into a position of assistant superintendent to guide the process district-wide. Give more than you take away. Last but not least, in your class, write down to what your students like. Go back to Olivia. Is she a leader? What is she like? Amazingly, what her like is, be in her classroom, where what did she find? Her voice. The girl who was a mute by choice found her voice in a place that she liked, was discovering and developing leadership potential in every student. These are the layers to leadership. It is a choice. Leadership is communicating people's worth and potential so clearly they're inspired to see it in themselves. If you hold that true, I can ride an elevator with you. I can say, "What do you expect to get out of this experience you're about to launch into?" You say, "We want to learn how to bring leadership to our students to help them become leaders." Look at yourself. If you lead, they will follow. When they follow, they will learn to lead. When they learn to lead, they become the ones who will fulfill in our future what we so desperately need and what we are preparing them for. I hope you enjoy Layers to Leadership. Take it home, and I hope it'll help you discover and develop leadership potential in all of your students. Thank you very much.